On today's show, how does playing video games with your partner benefit your relationship? Rebecca Dingwell, who says she spends too much time on the PS5, is here with the answer to that question. And winter comfort foods, they can be cozy as well as healthy. Chef Mary Mammoliti shares her favorite anti-inflammatory winter power foods with us today and creative ways to enjoy them. Now, folks, we're set to power through this show.
This is Kelly and Company.
Nizreen Abdul-Majid over there. So Niz, speaking of power, I'm kind of curious. A few weeks back, I think it was just before Christmas, we were at the AMI office, and there was a few things that we were able to grab and pick up, little toys that are branded AMI content, those kinds of things. One of the things that I've grown to love are the charging mats. Is that the proper term for them? You call it charging pad or a mat? Is that what you call them?
The charging pad?
Yeah, where you can put your phone on it. Are they like cases? Lay it down. Yeah, well, you lay your phone on it, hit the button on the side, and it charges it up, right? You plug it in and that kind of thing.
You got that?
Oh, I got 2 of them. I'm a greedy guy.
I did not see those. I missed out on those.
Oh my gosh.
No, I got to the part where I got those little sanitizers and the mints and those.
Oh, I got
and the
those
water
too.
bottles. The water bottles were nice.
Oh, no. The water bottles had things like, Kelly and Rummy on them. I didn't want anything from Dave Brown's show because those are all defunct. I don't need any of that. But a charging power pad, I had to have another one of those.
That's pretty cool.
The thing with those kinds of things is you can find them everywhere, dollar stores and so on. I always worry about, the safety of them. Will they blow out your phone? Will they short out and start a fire? We're so worried about those things. But mostly the most important thing, will they legitimately charge their phone, or anytime your phone gets a message or something like that and vibrates, does it cut the charging ability? You pick it up, you've had it charging for an hour, and what the heck? It's the same as when I put it on.
Is it one of those chargers that you need to take the case off? Because that is pretty annoying.
Yeah. Well, I haven't run into that, but this AMI one I like, but I've had ones that are just garbage. You mess around, you put it on, you're moving the phone all over the place. Hey, come on.
You have to twist the wire and wrap it around the phone.
Yeah, it's like something needs to hold this, or you got to have the right spot, or you got to unplug it, then plug it back in, then unplug it from the USB, plug it back in, and maybe it'll consider working. But I love these things because I'm lazy, as opposed to plugging something in, plugging your phone in, setting it down somewhere. It is slower. I don't know if I've ever found one that's too fast. I'm sure some of the more expensive ones that take a few phones or whatever. I don't really have that experience. Do you have the multiple ones, or just these one single
I have
pad?
the multiple ones, but those ones don't charge fast at all. They're pretty slow. I mean, it is pretty nice that I can charge my laptop, my phone, and different devices for those things. At the same time, if it's not fast, I get frustrated because I'm the type of person that ends up charging it for a bit and then I end up unplugging it after a few minutes just to
I got to do something else. Hey, why isn't this? It's still only 1% more.
It's still 5%. What's going on? I wonder why, because I keep unplugging it.
So when you say your laptop, does it actually have to sit on it next to, how does that work? I've never thought of charging something like a laptop or whatever via one of those pads. And how big's the pad?
No, I don't think the pads would work on the laptop, definitely.
Okay, I didn't think so. I thought you said that. I'm sorry. I think I misunderstood
I have
you.
the wires that have multiple different wires within that wire.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. It's beneficial. It's nice. But it's an
interesting technology, really, right? I think it's that convenience. It is okay if you just put it down or whatever, but you have to understand the expectation of it. And I don't know how much it's really going to change. Amy Amantea joining us on the program as well. Do you have any of these charging pads laying around, and how many if you do?
I do. I have one of these. I think they were called like a Wi-Fi charger. But yeah, I've got one, and now I've got a new iPhone 16 and a case, and the case doesn't work with the charger.
Oh.
So I have to take the case off And now I've abandoned the pad and just use the cable that comes with the charger with the phone, because I'm not gonna buy it. Yeah, it's just annoying. So I just have the cable that's like behind my nightstand, and that's what I use. But yeah, it's annoying. But I also have what you have, Nazreen, which is one of those multi-charger things, which I actually love when I travel, because there's never enough outlets when I travel to plug everything in. And yeah, it's slow, but if I just want to charge things overnight, then overnight gets the job done.
Yeah, exactly.
I have not heard of the case being that much of a problem. I've noticed some of the screen protectors of late, you hold the phone up to your face and weird things happen, especially with our voiceover and the double tapping. I'll start hearing noise and suddenly, it'll cut the call off, or I'm hearing stuff because either the screen protector's affecting my connection to the phone, like with the tapping and everything. There's just some of those more bizarre things going on. It sometimes feels, no matter how far we go ahead with technology, there are those things that, oh yeah, we did that, and we're stepping back one step or so. Amy, it's the lead up to Valentine's Day, and we've been really doing a bunch of stuff with our Valentine's bouquet on the program. Started earlier in the week, and we're going to be continuing it. You handle our arts and culture angle, and there are some different ways out there to tell people out there, some creative ways that we love them. Where do you want to start with this, and where do we go when we think of it that way?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, Valentine's Day has become very commercialized. We all know this. We are told what we need to buy and made to feel bad if we don't have a partner and all of those kinds of things. The FOMO of, I didn't get a date, or I didn't get a thing for Valentine's Day. But I think we need to remind ourselves that Valentine's Day, doesn't have to be about having a partner, but can be about, spending time with your family, or remember when you were a kid and you used to make a Valentine's card for your teachers and the other kids in your class.
Everyone in the class.
The classmates with the little chocolates.
Everybody, exactly.
Oh, yes.
Exactly, right? So I think it's just about, spending time with people that you love and appreciate. So that could be work colleagues. It could be anybody, a group of friends, found friends, found family, all of this kind of thing. So I just want to encourage people that it's, if you're sitting at home, like I'm a single person, so I'm not going to tell myself that I'm a sad sack if I don't go out on Valentine's Day.
I'm out by myself. Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So just don't feel bad if you're a single person. There are always people to love and appreciate. So there's a couple of really fun things that I think that people can do that can celebrate whether you have partners, or whether you have families, or whether you have groups of friends. And one of the things that I think would be super cool is a Valentine's Day scavenger hunt. I love scavenger hunts. The first one I was ever a part of was actually for my birthday, and I was grade 7. So how old are you in grade 7?
14.
And
no,
12?
sorry, that's 9.
No,
12. 12.
11, 12, something
10?
like that.
Yeah, I think you're
10?
10 or 11, I think.
grade 5. Grade 5
none
is
of us
10.
can
Grade
remember.
5 is 10.
We're great
Grade
at
5
None of
is
us
10, right?
None of us can remember that long ago. Well,
I'm going to say
scavenger hunt
it's 12. 12.
Okay.
No,
None
you're
of us can
13
remember
when you go to grade 9, so you have to be like 10 or 11.
Depends when your birthday
Okay.
is, though, right?
Anyways, go ahead, Amy.
Everybody's screaming at us saying the same thing, and then just say, oh, whatever, you don't know, move on.
Whatever age you are, preteen, you're some kind of preteen, or something like that. But what I remember from that is that it was actually a Halloween scavenger hunt that my mother did for me in my yard at a party that I had. And she wrote all these clever little cards and sent this our group of kids around to find these things in the yard. And one of the things that I remember was the greatest part of this was we have these 2 tall trees in our yard, and it was shadowed under darkness. And one of the kids went around, and there was my dad with my brother wrapped in a trench coat, and they were wearing those like glow in the dark Jason masks.
Yes.
And they went around, and my dad opened his trench coat, and out popped my brother and scared the poop out of everybody, right? But it was the funnest thing to do. So now imagine doing this for Valentine's Day, right? You're in your local city, and maybe you're giving clues to places that you went on dates with a partner, and then it ends up in a place that you want to have a romantic dinner at, or groups of friends where you're just going on places around your city, and you're going to end up in a place where you're going to have dinner with, but just like fun places to visit. And then you're stopping by and like grabbing a coffee at this place and going for a walk on that place, or having a picnic under this tree, because you've created a little scavenger hunt. And I think that would be so much fun to do. So somebody's got to build that for me, because I just think that would be awesome. So that's one of the things you can create.
Yeah, I mean, Nazreen, how would you do that? Would you do it, Nazreen, where you're sending people around to places where there's the romantic stuff to buy? I love Amy's idea of ending up at that eatery, whether it's, again, for the family, for your partner, for whatever it might be. You could be so inclusive. What would be your road to
we used to do a lot of scavenger hunts. I thought they were cute too. But yeah, I would choose the romance into it, where you could like make a poem to kind of give a hint. Oh, you have to go on our first date. And this is kind of tricky, because if the person doesn't remember, you're screwed.
You get mad. Oh, you'd get all annoyed.
Yeah, I would get annoyed. That would just ruin the whole day.
Especially your first date or something.
This is a test as well. So scavenger hunt plus test to test your partner of if they remember anything about your anniversary or date.
But like
I mean,
said,
if
you could do that with friends so easily too, like whether it's a few friends, your closest, buddies that you do stuff with, and just go on a whole thing of places that you tend to frequent or did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, can you think of that if you wanted to do that as a proposal scavenger hunt?
That would be adorable.
Wouldn't that be adorable?
That would be so cute.
Like, imagine you are a group of Nazreen's friends, and Nazreen doesn't know this, but you're going to do a scavenger hunt and show up at one of Nazreen's DJ parties.
Oh yeah,
that would be insane.
That would be fun too.
They'd really startle you, especially when you're out of town once, right? And you're sitting there DJing, and your friends show up. Oh wow, we didn't want you to be lonely.
Yep. Or if you show up at a surprise party for somebody, like there's so many ways that you could do this to be creative, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I thought that one was with a small group of girls, like a Valentine's Day, and you have your girls over, you're partying, and you could do a scavenger hunt at home, and it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm. And it shows thought.
You absolutely could.
Thought and knowledge of the individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part of these things, is that you are showing that you care, and it doesn't have to be about spending hundreds of dollars. So the next one that I have that is about showing thought and care is a message in a bottle. Did anybody ever do these like time capsule things or a message in a bottle?
For school.
I never actually. Did you do these for school?
We did a time capsule. I have no idea. I was in grade 2. And if I can't remember what grade 2, what age we were, we're not going to go down that road. But if I can't remember that, I have no idea what we put in it.
So there was a woman on the news recently who, her daughter, I'm going to get the story wrong, but somebody found a time capsule that she had thrown into a message in a bottle that she had thrown into the ocean like 26 years ago. When she was in school, and her daughter is now in the same grade at the same school that her mother would have been in when she threw the time capsule, and it washed up on shore, and the girls, her daughter and the girls found this time capsule, and they were like, no way. So
that's really what crazy.
Right? What a circular moment that was. And so, the mother was like, no way, you found my time capsule? Yeah. So, or my message in a bottle. So how fun would it be to create a message in a bottle for someone in the future, for, a friend that you've never met, thinking that when you find this, look me up, we're meant to be best friends, or, we're meant to be partners for life, or whatever it is. I think that, just even if you're just writing a message saying, right now, this is what's happening in life, this is where we are in this period of time. Here you go, universe, send this on its way, and somebody will find it. And, with the internet and social media and all sorts of ways to connect with people, it shouldn't be difficult to be able to have somebody, if it's found, to have somebody connect with you. So I think that would be super cool.
I think
No, it
my
is
Gilligan's
cool.
Island watching as a kid made me really want to throw a bottle in the ocean. That was for sure. I think the only thing that kept me from doing it is it's a long way from the ocean. Go ahead, Nis.
Oh, I was gonna say it is cool. The fact that the daughter found her message in a bottle is wild to me. I can't believe that's true.
What a fluky,
yeah.
kind of creepy thing, but you know, you don't want to keep using that stupid word always for things we don't understand or when something random like that happens. It's a really interesting thing, really fantastic.
Yeah. And now I'm sure that there are folks that are screaming at us about pollution and climate change, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
So that's a thing to consider as well. I mean, here's where we are, but maybe what you do is you pull some other plastic out of the ocean in exchange for your bottle, or you use a glass bottle. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. But I'm sure that there's a way of being able to equalize that in some way, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, even
sure.
if you buried a time capsule, you're still burying something in the earth that is not going to biodegrade, right? So at some point, you gotta say to yourself, well, I'm still flying in airplanes, and that's, affects climate change. So, you do what you can do to reduce your footprint in some ways because you're going to be a polluter in other ways.
For sure. Anything else, Aim, with this? Because you got some other cool ideas here.
Yeah, so this one is, I'm calling this a garden in a bowl. Some people call this a terrarium, but this is a really interesting way of just being cool, I guess. But you get a glass bowl that's kind of like a little fish bowl. You can do this in any size, and you can create these any which way you want. So you can go down to your local beach if you want to. You can buy, things from the dollar store. So you just get like a little layer of sand or some pebbles. I like to put cactus in mine because they don't require a lot of water. But you can put any succulents in there because succulents don't require a lot of water. But basically, or you can put artificial plants in there. You don't have to water them at all, right? And so you can sort of just arrange it and design it the way that you want to, decorate it the way that you want to. And it can be a centerpiece or sit on somebody's shelf. So whether you want to use materials from the natural environment or something that's reused in your house. I mean, I got lots of silk flowers around my house. My mother likes to put them out in the garden because she gets lazy in the summertime and she wants color, and they don't need to be watered. So, you could reuse those too, but it's just
The
a
rabbits
nice
get
little
mad
touch.
at that, though.
That's right, but the slugs don't eat them, so there you go. But that's just a nice little touch, a way of being able to, show a way that you care, be creative. It's all about being creative.
I know, Amy, we talk about these things. We think about a lot of us out there, and there's always, well, okay, how can I do this without being flamboyant? I don't want to turn this time into some money thing, money. These are very inexpensive ways to have some enjoyment and mostly, like we talked about, show the thought behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. However, if you are the kind of person that just wants to, make it air quotes simple and just buy a ticket to a thing and have some fun for a night, everybody has to do what they like to do, right? So there is in the downtown Halifax area a Yuck Yucks comedy club, and I'm a big fan of Yuck Yucks. So they have a pro-am, so that stands for professional/amateur comedy special. That's happening on February the 15th. So it's the day after Valentine's Day, obviously. So perhaps maybe it's not as screaming busy. So it's 8 p.m. on February the 15th. And, you can get tickets for $12. So $12 is not hugely expensive. You can get a night out. I'm sure they want you to buy a few drinks, which are probably $20, but you can do whatever you want to do with that. But it's hosted by the hilarious Shayla Shenanigans, who is a well-known drag queen in the area. And any comedy fest that's hosted by a drag queen is going to be a good time, friends, I tell ya. So if you have time and inclination and you love comedy and you love a little drag, doors open at 7:30. And for $12, you can have a really, really nice time. So there's a lot of things that you can do for Valentine's Day or the lead up to Valentine's Day.
Perfect. Good stuff, Aim. Thanks a lot for bringing these to our attention to do at home, or hey, if you're in the Halifax area, get out and enjoy a show. Appreciate it. Aim, I did notice there's no chocolate on your list. So whomever people choose to celebrate Valentine's with, well, okay, there's something out there for everyone, but not the chocolate people. Intentional?
Watching your waistline.
All right,
chocolate
thanks.
on my list. I don't care.
Kelly needs it to survive. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, friends.
Yeah, I think about, when you talk about scavenger hunts or escape rooms, things like that. And as a blind person, some of these would just be so fun, like an escape room. But my knowledge of, from kids that have done them, you're reading something or you're following some direction, just like the cards. Like, I don't know. I mean, I remember doing scavenger hunts and having to follow along because someone else had to read it. And some of them, they would get one card. So one group would go here. The next card handed out to the other group, they'd end up at maybe the third thing that was part of the clues. And I think I loved it. I used to want to be able to do more, but I often felt like I wasn't taking part. But everybody is, and there's always the brain power needed. So that's when they call upon me, of course.
No, absolutely. Like when I went to my first escape room, I think it was my first and last time that I went to an escape room. It was dark, and I can't see when it's when it's low light. So I felt so out of place. I felt like I was on the sidelines while they were trying to figure things out. They saw pictures, they read letters, they really followed how to solve how to escape the escape room. But I felt like it was not accessible at all. It was not you just sort of feel like, okay, they got this, I'll be on the side. But if it's your own way of creating an escape room or a scavenger hunt, you could really be creative with that sort of thing. Make it your own.
I wonder, when you look at games like that or things to do like that, I know we always talk about the lack of accessibility, but I always think, and maybe I used to do this to make myself feel better, but some of us are not the strongest readers. Some of us are not good at putting clues together. Some of us are not good at the physical, elements that may be part of something you're doing. And I know in any group, something is going to reflect on maybe more than one person. But when you're in the situation you're in with that, if I was doing that, I'd feel so, man, why am I here? And I'm sure when I think about it the way that I just express, somebody else has got to be feeling that way. So I find it very interesting because you get the concept thing, gee, that'd be so cool to do. And then whether you do it or not, you have that experience. And there's something about being able to have an experience and not let it sour you on it, even if you decide, that doesn't really work for me, but to contextualize it the right way. Sometimes you just feel so, I gotta get out of here. This is like the worst day of my life. We have been playing around with the YouTube page. We want people to subscribe, please, when you can. Check things out. We've got content over there, and we've started to put segments out there from the show, and you can still look at the listen to and look at the full show. But we're trying to have some fun. Always want your feedback on everything we're doing, whether it's the podcast, whether out on social media with anything that's happening. But we want you to have some fun, and we'd appreciate it. Appreciate your thoughts and things like that. It's been kind of fun, Nazreen. Yourself and Rummy have been messing around out there. Mark has been. Ryan Delahanty has been going through and checking on things as we try to curtail and have some fun with it. And people should probably expect over time things to look a little different on all the YouTube pages for AMI as we start getting a lot more into the digital sphere.
It has been fun because we've been playing around with it, and we're just seeing people's reactions to our posts, and I love that. I really love it. It really encourages us to push harder, and it reminds us of why we do what we do. So we really appreciate all the responses on Instagram and Twitter, and it's been great.
And we're trying to make things very accessible so that people know. Everybody tries to keep that in our minds to make things a little easier and to be realistic about what we're presenting. So keep in mind, go to the YouTube page, subscribe. We'd appreciate if you did that. Also, check out our podcast from your podcast platform of choice. Maybe while you're out there, either way, let us know, as Nazreen just said. But with the podcast, definitely, if you could give us a rating and review.
Rebecca Dingwell is a writer and editor who spends so much time playing PlayStation 5, and she's here to tell us why video games are good for love. I am curious about this because my husband's a gamer, Rebecca, so please share this.
Okay, so I want to preface this by saying all the games I'm going to talk about today are cooperative games or co-op. So the important thing about these is you're not playing against each other. You're playing together.
Oh, on the
And
same
for me,
team.
that's important.
Okay.
If you're competitive like me, I can get like to be a little bit of a jerk sometimes when I'm playing against somebody.
Same.
Are you the sore winner
yeah.
and the sore loser, Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm 100% both. So things like Mario Party, Smash Brothers, kind of the typical like party games and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily somebody you want to be playing that with. But the reason I like cooperative games and the reason I like playing them with my spouse in particular, among other people, is I think it's just a more interactive way to spend time together, especially this time of year. You know, it's cold out. You're not necessarily going out and doing all the things you like to do when the weather is a bit nicer. So it can get a little bit monotonous, right? There are only so many movie nights you can have at home without it getting boring, in my opinion, anyway. So I think that what the video games do is they kind of allow you to interact with each other on a bit of a different level. And in a lot of these games, you're kind of constantly communicating. So I think that they have that benefit to it, that it's a little bit more of a bonding experience than the passive experience of, you know, watching a show or a movie together sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outcome
like
would be
when
the
I
thing too.
Yeah. We played The Last of Us at one point, and we were working as a team. Of course, the first 2 minutes I kept getting killed. But the best thing is that you can save each other, you can save your teammates. And my husband was playing, and he was trying to save me every single time. And it was such a fun interaction. Aww. I'm the same way. I get very competitive. I get, sassy and everything. So I understand where you're coming from. Maybe playing together in the same team is better than against each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. And it's funny you talk about The Last of Us because great game, great story. I can't play it because I think it's mainly in the second game. You have to kill dogs, and that's not something you can get past. And I'm like,
yeah.
No, that's one thing I struggle with in games. But then there are other like absolutely wild things that I'm fine with doing in games. So it's weird. We all have our different limits, and it's weird how they aren't always consistent. But yeah.
I'm not much of a game person. I'm sorry, Ness. I'm not a game person. I think if I could play games more easier, and I know there's a lot of accessible games, no one would ever find me because I would just probably get into them so much. Even as a kid, what little bit I could do, I enjoyed. Like people will say, "Are you like against games or whatever?" I think like you, Rebecca, I'd have my limits. I don't really find that enjoyable in a game. I don't want to do that. But it's really fascinating when there's a thinking game, but you've got stuff to do. And I think versus the movie. A movie has a beginning, an actual end. So does a video game. You have something derived that you're supposed to be able to do, but there's so many ways to get there, and the things that are going to happen. And I guess that's kind of the freshness of a game, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And some games are more replayable than others as well. And maybe I'll talk about that a little bit too. But it can be really fun.
All right. And Nazreen, I cut you off.
Oh, no worries. I was just curious on what type of games you were referring to.
Yeah, so I have a few that I've played with my husband recently that I'm going to suggest. So the first one, and I'm going to go kind of from easiest gameplay to hardest gameplay. So the first one I'm going to recommend is a game called Spiritfarer, and the developer puts it really well. They call it a cozy management game about dying. So even though death is kind of a central theme of the game, it's really sweet and really bittersweet, I guess. And when I say cozy game, I'm talking about if you like things like Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, that's sort of what we mean when we're talking about cozy games. Like they're sort of little fetch quests, or you're building homes, you have a little neighborhood. There's no fear of like your avatar getting killed. There's no combat is not the name of the game here. So Spiritfarer, you play as a character called Stella, and she is basically taking over as the Spiritfarer, which is pretty much a guardian or a psychopomp that is guiding people kind of through almost a limbo or purgatory type situation to the afterlife. So you build up your ship, you and you gather people. I guess the caricatures they portray themselves as animals in the game. That's kind of how their soul reflects when you find them. But you make food for them, you create little cabins like their rooms, you do little quests for them until they're ready to cross over. And the story is really good and the gameplay is very simple. Now, if you have a player 2 in this game, and another thing, all the games I'm going to be talking about, you can play solo or co-op. So if you don't have anybody in your life you can play with right now, you can still play. So if you play co-op, player 2 is going to be Daffodil, that's Stella's cat. Which is really cute. And my husband jokingly talks about co-op games like this. He says this is a give your little brother a controller kind of game, because the co-op doesn't add a whole lot to the gameplay. It's just sort of it's more for flavor. Like player 2 can do things and interact with most things that player 1 can, but it doesn't really change the outcome or change the tone of the game at all. It's just kind of an option.
It's like
so
the co-pilot
that's really
position,
good.
kind of, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. So that's good, especially if you have maybe one person in a relationship that's more of a gamer and than the other, and it can kind of, or if you're just doing it for a quality time thing, sort of like we were. But I really love this game. I think the story is really beautiful, and the characters are lovely. You go through all these adventures, and the characters all go through their character arcs. Like I said, death is something that comes up. Stella in life was, it's implied that she was a hospice nurse. So that's something that is talked about and dealt with. So if that's something that might make you uncomfortable or upset, then maybe look up content warnings for that one. But overall, it's a really beautiful game and it's not difficult to play. So that's definitely like the top one on my list. If you're looking to get into gaming and you're not sure where to start, that's a really good one.
Okay, how about your next one?
Yeah, so my second one is kind of like, it's also what they would call a management style game, but I certainly wouldn't call it cozy, even though the animation style is very, very cute. It's called Cult of the Lamb. And in Cult of the Lamb, you're playing as a lamb. And as the game starts out, you're about to be sacrificed to the old gods. And after you die, you are greeted by this other god who is in chains, and he's called the One Who Waits. And he tells you that he is going to resurrect you and give you the opportunity to live a second life. The only thing you have to do is recruit followers for a cult in his name. So what you have to do is gather followers, keep them fed, keep them happy, go on crusades. Basically, you have to keep the loyalty level of your cult up while gaining power. This style of game is called a rogue light, so a little bit of gamer lingo there. I would say that if you're playing a rogue-like game, that's a game where sort of the opposite of a cozy game, in that death is imminent. You can what's called permadeath. You can get that game over screen. So it's a little bit more risky. There's combat. Now, this is a rogue-light game, so it has some of those elements, but isn't quite as intense. So there's definitely combat. Your avatar can die, but the beauty of, because of the story, you constantly get resurrected. So, and this, unlike Spiritfarer again, is a game where co-op does impact the gameplay more. So you get abilities that sort of work with each other. When you're in combat, for example, you might have certain moves or attacks or defenses that depend on one another. Kind of like Nasreen was saying about The Last of Us, you can revive each other. So you can like donate some of your hearts to the other player if they've died in combat. So that's kind of fun. It's very like cartoony and very cute animation, which kind of goes against the tone of the game, in which there's like sacrifice and death and starvation and people are dying. So it's kind of fun that way for me, because it's a little bit, even though it's violent, it's kind of goofy because of how cute everybody is. So again, that might be something that might not be everybody's cup of tea, but it is mine, and it's really fun. You can also play like easy, medium, hard mode. So if you start to play the game on a certain level and it's a little too rough for you, you can always go to the easier mode, which is another thing that I like.
Okay. I think, Rebecca, we have time for, I think you have one more, I think. And we got about a minute and a half.
Okay, I'll try to be as quick as I can with this one. This one, it's going to be a little bit controversial, even though it's an award-winning game and a very popular game. It's called Baldur's Gate 3, and if you're a gamer at all, you've probably heard of it. I'll say it's controversial because a lot of people say you shouldn't play this with your partner because there's a romance option in this game. And not everybody is into playing that kind of game with their partner. Doesn't bother me. You also don't have to do the romance routes if you don't want to. So just putting that out there. But it's a game based in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. So if you're an RPG player, or even if you're not, then this is a great game. Fantasy elements, great story, wonderful characters. Again, more combat heavy, but you have those options of picking your difficulty levels. Also, really quick, if you play co-op, you can play at a distance as long as two people own the game. So I have a long-distance friend in Ontario with whom I play every week. So we have a co-op game running that we're playing together, and that's really fun. So if you're in a long-distance relationship or have a long-distance bestie, that's a great option. You can play with more than two players. I recommend playing with no more than 3, because 4 fills out your party, and then you can't bring any of the non-player characters with you on quests, which, in my opinion, is not as fun.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. Yeah, those are good.
Thank you. Let me know if you try any of them. And there are some great. I didn't get to the accessibility stuff, but if you look up game name and accessibility review, there are some great bloggers out there who have kind of broken down some of that stuff, and that'll help you out if you're trying to figure out if something is for you.
Amazing. That was Rebecca Dingwell, a writer and editor. And she came here to tell us why gaming is good for love. That was amazing.
I love when we get the discussions of the different options and the contributors. We appreciate, because there's things everybody says, no, like Rebecca said, I'm not going to do anything that's killing dogs. Some people may not be comfortable with adding this element to the third game, and I think that game creators understand and know that, and just say, hey, like, this isn't what it's for. Plus, it makes it more open for people to play it with more of a variety of people. If it's not your partner, if it's not meant to necessarily be with your husband you're playing with, or your wife, but just a partner, like a young person, like in the first game. I think those options are so important, and the designers, of course, want as many people playing. So really great. Nazreen, you've got an item I'd like you to bring on for us. Let's read it and have a little quick discussion here, and we'll bring Mary in.
All right, folks, so get this, a mystery that's got the whole state of Pennsylvania scratching their heads, because we're talking about a heist involving 100,000 eggs. Yes, you heard me right, 100,000 eggs. This is real. So here's the scoop. Police are still trying to crack the case after a trailer full of eggs was stolen right off the back of a truck. It happened just a few days ago, and as of now, they've got nothing. No leads, no suspects. Trooper First Class Megan Fraser from the Pennsylvania State Police said they're really hoping the community steps up. They're putting it out there, asking anyone who might have seen anything to reach out with tips. I mean, how do you get away with stealing 100,000 eggs? That's a lot of eggs to hide. Yeah. But a lot of people are wondering if the price hike has anything to do with the heist. Was it a crime of opportunity or something bigger at play? Fraser, who's been on the job for over 12 years, said he's never heard of anything like this before, and it makes sense, right? It's not every day you heard about egg napping at this scale.
Napping.
So they're also checking out security footage, talking to any possible witnesses, really pulling all stops to track down the culprit. But for now, it's anyone's guess who's behind it. I mean, 100,000 eggs just don't vanish, right?
Good to bring Mary Mammoliti in here. Mary, I think because you're always watching the state of food, and we've heard about some of the black market, because that's, I think, what this turns into. We've heard about it even in Mexico, whether it's limes or some of the stuff, you know, what is it you have on toast? We were talking about it the other day, the vegetable.
Butter.
The vegetable.
Avocado?
Avocado, thank you. And because that's such a hot thing, but there's such a black market for avocado right now, with so many people, and in the United States taking a really severe hit with the poultry and so many farms being closed because of the avian flu. Literally, eggs, if you want a meal with eggs, some places are charging 20 cents more, saying, well, guys, what the heck you want us to do, 20 or 50 cents more? Sorry, I think it's 50 cents more, because it's a huge crisis with all these farms being shut down, with so much tragedy. We're stuck. So I guess we're seeing the fringe of the black market for eggs, Mary.
I mean, I've heard something about this similar situation happening here in Ontario with butter. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more. Now, I was smiling when you were reading it, because I'm just thinking a whole lot of things about, you know, we're hearing about egg napping. Like we've reached this point where people are stealing eggs and truckloads and skids of them.
I hope there's a hostage taking. You pay off, or we're going to crack all these eggs.
They may call in the big guns, the bunny rabbits, the Easter bunnies.
That's right. The salmonella affair.
But for me, I'm thinking that I think we're just going to see a lot more of this, because grocery prices are not going down. And we're having more and more recalls off shelves, and food's becoming more and more difficult to obtain, to purchase, to keep. So I don't really know what to make of this, because I don't think I've ever, up until now, my entire life, I've ever heard of skids of eggs disappearing.
Yeah. Isn't it mind-boggling that a dozen of eggs are like $8 now?
Yeah.
$7 to $8.
Not with what's going on.
That blows my mind.
And because we are being shown, like here in London right now, they have the huge poultry show on, one of the biggest in North America, and lots of people were saying, should they be doing this with the avian flu? I think what we're finding is how much of this network of from province to province are going outside our country, things cycling around back, and us paying more because of the commerce we have, and a lot of this coming to light with this tariffs thing going on. I really think we stop and say, what's happening here? Which opens the door for a black market and hijacking of a bunch of eggs. But
also opens the door to a lot of illnesses that can come with it.
Oh, good heavens, yes.
They're not being regulated.
And if you're buying them for whatever restaurant or whatever, whether you know or not, and serving them to people. I mean, I remember last year when the truck of lobster was found, I think in Northern Ontario or something crazy like this. It had been left abandoned, which is criminal enough. It's lobster. You know, you're leaving all this food when we have such a world where people need food, this and that, where people are starving, and somebody hijacks or does something. You see that. But this, like you said, Mary, these start showing up in places. It could be a lot of illness starting to appear, and we have no idea the state of these eggs as it is, and what could happen. You know, we assume they're okay, but who knows with such a great problem we're having. Thanks, ladies. Thanks for reading that, Niz. Appreciate that. Folks, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Kelly & Co. AMI. That's on Instagram and Twitter at Kelly & Co. AMI. So winter often tempts us with indulgent treats, but it also brings some of the best produce out to heal our bodies. Of course. We love it and we enjoy it immensely. Chef Mary Mammoliti is here to talk about winter's top 7 anti-inflammatory foods today on the program and how we can incorporate them into delicious foods. So, Mayor, let's talk about the winter powerful foods. Which ones can help us reset, and how come these anti-inflammatory foods are so important to us?
So winter is all about cozy comfort foods, sweet treats, especially this month, the month that you are all celebrating the love month. And it can quickly become an issue. So luckily this also brings the perfect reset, right? So for me, it's fresh, it's flavorful, it's produce packed with anti-inflammatory goodness. So I'm talking like citrus, leafy greens, some root veggies that'll help your body bounce back and stay balanced. So while inflammation, honestly, is a natural response to protect and heal our bodies, right? We all have it. It's a great thing to have, but too much of it, especially from poor diet, maybe lifestyle choices, they can do more harm than good. So this is why I chose seven winter power foods to try this month.
Okay.
First one.
And winter's tough, right? Because winter as it is, we've got our darkness and we're not getting the most freshest foods, and we have to be choosy based on price and what actually is available. So, okay, Mayor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the first one I thought about, the first one I wanted to put on the list was pomegranate. Now, if you haven't, because you're thinking, okay, how am I going to peel this thing? It's a lot of work. It's fairly simple. Don't be intimidated by... Do you love pomegranate?
I love pomegranates, yes.
They're so good.
But it's so good, but it's getting more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It is. So when you do find them on sale, I suggest picking one up, because the little ruby red tender seeds and the juice, they're both full of flavor and they're jam-packed with anti-inflammatory power, which is what we want right now. So they make a great substitute for berries or citrus segments on salad. You can also add pomegranate juice to teas. Try this one, pomegranate iced tea. It is pomegranate green iced tea, which is so good. Add it to smoothies. If that's not your thing and you want, or maybe you like sodas, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever it is, try this instead. A little bit of sparkling water with some pomegranate juice. So the sparkling water adds that little bit of fizz, and it's without the extra sugar. So these would also be great additions to maybe your Valentine's Day menu, which is nice, right? A little sparkling water with some pomegranate juice.
Very good.
Spruce it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Next one.
Oh, yeah.
Mary, I'm thinking too also, we need to address seeds sometimes. There's so many seeds you could eat, mix in with your smoothies and whatever when you're doing stuff without getting too worried. But I wouldn't even know the first seeds that are okay or not. My head is so around, don't eat the apple core, don't eat those seeds, that I wouldn't even think you can eat watermelon seeds or some of the benefits.
Yeah.
So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Your next item.
Absolutely. And you're 100% correct, because we do tend to always think, eliminate them, remove them, get rid of them, don't eat them, don't consume them. But they have extra fiber. They have a whole lot of nutrients that we could benefit from. Broccoli. What are your thoughts on broccoli? Because I do love some broccoli.
Me too.
This is difficult because some people cannot
but
stand it.
it has to have a dip. I feel like it's too dry without a dip. And I don't know
if you're eating it raw,
opposite.
yes.
I like it either way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you're eating it raw, I absolutely agree. Something has to be with it. But if you're cooking it up, it's fantastic. I mean, broccoli, it thrives in cold weather, right? It makes it ideal, makes it the ideal winter vegetable. So even though it's available all year round, it's considered a great winter vegetable. So if you don't like broccoli, maybe try some other cruciferous fruit, veggies like kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. Cabbage is also good. Or you can do a little deconstructed cabbage roll in a pan, which is really nice. Here's another suggestion.
I'm a big Brussels sprouts person.
You are or you're not?
Yeah, I am. I love them.
I love them. I can have them any which way.
Yep.
But my stomach does prefer them cooked, I'll be honest.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they can be a little harsh if you're a little more on the delicate side.
I don't think I've ever had them, without them being cooked.
Oh, in a shaved salad, if you shave them, so slice them, find them really, really fine, and then mix it up with some dressing, they're so good.
Oh, okay.
Another suggestion, make a big batch of slow cooker broccoli turmeric soup. This is absolutely delicious. And what I love about it, it cooks in the background. You don't have to worry about it. The only thing you're really sauteing are the leeks. So you're going to need leeks, broccoli, ginger, some butter, a little ground turmeric. You can use fresh if you have, salt, black pepper, sesame seed, sesame oil, and some stock. So either use some chicken or some vegetable stock, whichever you prefer. Saute your leeks in a little bit of butter, get those nice and tender, and then just pop everything into the slow cooker on low 3 to 4 hours. And then with an immersion blender or your blender, blend it up, make it nice and smooth. And you've got a perfect dinner.
Got it.
Which is delicious. What about blood
still
oranges?
Waiting for the invitation for for dinner, because everything you're describing, I'm like drooling over here.
And this poor woman comes on the show, and we always say this to her. Yeah, by the way,
Mark, hide my camera at this point.
And I was probably thinking, what is she waiting for? Have them over anytime. We're gonna plan this now. It's gonna happen. We're gonna do the show from my house while we're all eating. Blood oranges. Blood oranges. Have either of you tried blood oranges?
Yes.
No.
Love them. Yeah, love them.
Okay, so they're really delicious, right, Kelly? They've got like this tangy yet floral kind of tart taste to them. So they're typically available from December through to March. They offer those usual immune boosting vitamin C, antioxidants that reduce inflammation, which is great. A great way to enjoy them. You can have them plain. I mean, don't have to have everything spiced up and spruced up and bougied up. You can have it plain on its own. Put it in a salad, sauces, desserts. One that I really like is a blood orange dressing. So it's beautiful. It's delicious. You drizzle it over your favorite greens with a little fresh slices of blood orange, a few cinnamon spice nuts, which are really nice for that little added crunch. You can do candied nuts if you want. I just did cinnamon spice because I'm thinking of the sugar factor, but anything you want just to add that little bit of crunch to it. It is delicious, and it just spruces things up. Leeks. How do we feel about leeks?
I think
you can take it or leave it.
No, I think they're wonderful.
That was that pause. I'm like, I don't know.
No, I thought I was unmuted, so I was. Oh, I love them. Oh, Mary can't hear me. Yeah, I like them. It went from love to like. No, I think leeks are really great, and you can utilize them in so many different ways, especially like in an omelet. I think they're just wonderful.
Exactly, because they just add that mild onion-like flavor. They're really mild. They're not as pungent as a regular yellow onion or a white onion. Then we've got sweet potatoes, which are great because of the beta carotene. It supports immune health. It makes them great. When they're roasted, stuffed, baked, desserts. Desserts are great. Have you ever had sweet potato brownies? These are fantastic because the sweet potato, you turn it into puree. It adds moisture, bulk to the brownies, and it takes the place of that oil, the butter, or the flour, which is great because you're eliminating all that with the one vegetable. And then to keep it refined sugar-free, you can use maple syrup, which sweetens it up. They're so delicious.
Ooh.
They really are.
Potatoes. So just the thought of that combination is just, sign me
so
up.
good.
I never thought of them as a brownie. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we've got beets. Beets help reduce blood pressure, inflammation. You can roast them up, pickle them, add them to a salad. They're delicious.
Like beets.
No.
Confession.
See, I didn't until recently, the last couple of years. I was eating them all wrong.
Yeah,
I was eating them all
think that's
wrong.
the key because I generally eat them one way. I don't adore them. But I don't mind them. But it's one of those foods I get tired of very quickly. But I know there's different ways you can handle that, Mary.
But once you find the key is like you said, Kelly, you eat them one way. Once you find that way that you enjoy them, stick with it. Stick with it, and then try one other way. Because as long as you're getting it in, they're really delicious and they're really good for you. Pears are also rich.
Necessity food. You just eat it because you have to.
Well, pears are fantastic. I love pears. They're rich in prebiotic fiber. It supports gut health, reduces inflammation. You can enjoy them raw, roasted, salads, desserts. It gives you that fiber-packed boost. So for me, what I like doing is I like roasting them. And then I blend them up, put them in separate containers in single serving size, maybe a half cup portion, and then I freeze them. Because then as I need them, it goes great with, you take it out, you thaw it out, they thaw it very quickly. Top your yogurt with it. Top your yogurt, some granola, that pear, that roasted pear, or even top some cottage cheese if that's your thing, if you like the cottage cheese. Do that.
Oatmeal. Yeah.
Interesting.
I like them just whole. I mean, they squirt if you got them ripe enough. You just buy them. They're a little messy that way. Oh, geez. But, as you said, desserts everywhere, Mary. Wonderful list you've given us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Mammoliti, we got a lot of stuff here on this list. Check it out. You can do that via the podcast or on YouTube. If by chance you missed it, we were talking about some great comfort, healthy stuff to have. 7 on her list, folks. Nazreen, thanks a lot. I will talk to you tomorrow on the show.
Talk to you tomorrow.
You can email us at kellyco@ami.ca. Please, if you have thoughts or anything you want to ask us, please do it that way. Or give us a call, 1-866-509-4545. On the next program, Greg David joins us to add a rose to the Kelly Co. Valentine's bouquet. He'll be here to talk about the most romantic TV episodes of all time. And Randall Urban from the Open Gym Show will be here to chat NBA trade deadline and more with Brock Richardson and I. Fedora's off to you. Have a good day.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.